Hi guys! Which visa do you need if you want to live in Indonesia as a family or alone? That's the question we are going to answer today. The topic of visas is a tough one and it can get complicated, but hopefully we can keep it interesting enough for you.
Make sure you watch till the very end where we share which visa is required for different cases that are likely applicable for you or for your family when living in Indonesia.
So, now we're going to start listing all the different types of visas for Indonesia, so you can see for yourself which one is the most suitable.
The information we researched for this video is from the Indonesian Immigration Office and from a visa agency that is run by my very own cousin and her business partner in Bali. So it's the best information we could get. We do want to point out that visa types, regulations and costs are changing continuously.
Yeah.
For instance, there was a time when I was studying in Indonesia and Matt couldn't visit me easily because the Indonesian government did not grant visas on arrival to Dutch nationalities because of a diplomatic disagreement.
Yes, that one was a big disappointment for us, I still remember. Anyways, let's find out what visa you might need when moving to Indonesia. We have listed all the visitor visas. These visas are meant for short-term stays and you are not allowed to work on these visas. However, you are allowed to do business meetings, attend conferences, purchase goods and so on. But remember, you are not allowed to earn money when actually being in Indonesia on this visa.
So the first visa is the visa upon arrival. This visa is most limited because it is meant for tourist visits only. You can buy it upon arrival at the airport in Indonesia and it is valid for 30 days. If you wish to stay longer, then you can extend it at the local immigration office for another 30 days. It is a single entry visa, which means that once you leave Indonesia within those 30 days, your visa will not be valid for entry again. You will need to buy a new visa if you want to come back to Indonesia. Another visitor's visa is the multiple entry visa. This visa is valid for 5 years with a maximum 60-day stay, which means that after these 60 days has passed, you have to leave the country again. It's meant for business and pre-investment purposes only. It's non-extendable. However, you can apply for a temporary stay visa once this visa has expired. The B211 is the most popular among digital nomads or those who just plan to live in Indonesia for a year. Once this visa is expired after 180 days, you need to do a so-called visa run. This means you leave the country, apply for the same B211 visa again at an Indonesian embassy in, let's say, Kuala Lumpur or Singapore, and then you re-enter on a new visa for another 6 months. We did this when we were living in Indonesia for a year. It sounds perfect, but in the end, flying to Indonesia for a couple of days to get the visa arranged can get pretty expensive.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when you read the regulations of the B211 visa, as mentioned before, you are not allowed to earn an income, even if it's from an online business. But in reality, the immigration office allows owners of online businesses or those working remotely to enter Indonesia on this visa and still work. Most people therefore stay in Bali on this type of visa. Yep, it's simple and it doesn't cost much.
But once you actually earn money from activities within Indonesia, such as providing yoga classes, renting out an extra room in your rented villa, and providing coaching or consultancy, then you have to be careful. Immigration in Bali is particularly known for investigating those who earn some extra money like this. If they find out, you will be deported immediately.
Yeah, so please be careful. The downside of the visitor visa is that you are very limited when living in Indonesia. For instance, if you have kids, then they are not allowed to enter school. Also, you can't open a bank account, buy a car or buy a motorbike, etc., etc. So which visa do you need if you actually want to live in Indonesia? Not as a visitor, but as a resident.
Well, this is when things get a bit complicated.
Yeah.
And to avoid mistakes, we suggest hiring a visa consultant who can help you through every step. You could pretty much compare a visa consultant as a lawyer. They know the legal tips and tricks, they know how to read between the lines, and they can apply certain requirements in such a way that will benefit you. So for instance, for some visas, you need a sponsor. If you don't know anybody in Indonesia, then the visa agency can be the sponsor for you.
That's nice to know, right? A neat little trick. Not only do these visa consultants know how the whole visa application process goes and what you need, but they will also ask you the right questions beforehand, such as what exactly do you want to do, what type of income do you have or want to have, what are your future plans, and so on and so on. With this information, the agent consultancy can arrange the correct visa at the very beginning of the entire process.
Yeah, also, these visa consultants will help you with the renewal and extension of your visas. This is great because going to the immigration yourself can be very stressful. So, coming back to the question, what type of visa do you need if you wish to stay longer in Indonesia? Well, that will be the temporary stay visas, known as the ITAs or KITAs. These visas also allow you to do more than living in Indonesia, such as re-entering the country multiple times, opening a bank account, getting a car, and so on.
We listed the options for temporary stay visas. We did not add student, research or training visas here, but they are considered temporary visas too, and have similar regulations as those shown here, such as multiple entries, and they are extendable up to 2 years. With these visas, you are not allowed to work in Indonesia, except if you enter Indonesia on a work visa sponsored by an Indonesia company.
It can get pretty difficult to get a work visa as you really need to provide an expertise that an Indonesian cannot fulfill. And in most cases, it is a huge company that has to sponsor you, since the immigration fee and the work visa cost can be quite expensive.
The foreign investors visa means that you must invest in Indonesia, making you the company's director or investor. But you are not allowed to actively work in the company. That's a bit weird, right? But it allows you to stay in Indonesia and do remote work or have an online business. Since there are many legal requirements for a foreign investor visa, we advise you to arrange this visa through a visa consultant located somewhere in Indonesia. They can help you out with the company deeds and act as a sponsor for this specific visa, avoiding you going through the whole legal process of creating a company yourself. Using a visa agency as a sponsor is a very common process in obtaining the C314 visa, and it is all legal.
If you do actually want to start a business in Indonesia, then you need to apply for a PT-PMA setup. This is a type of business entity that refers to any private company in Indonesia that could either be a local or foreign limited liability company. It is considered a foreign-owned company. Foreign investors can conduct businesses in Indonesia to generate revenues or profit. This is a popular option for any foreign company that wish to start a business in Indonesia. While it is stated that the minimum investment is 10 billion rupiah, this amount is the total investment value that the company has to put in the first 5 years of operations. This means that you do not need to invest the full 10 billion rupiah at the initial start of your business. Again, for this case, we strongly advise you to contact a visa agency that knows exactly what is needed. Popular businesses on a C314 are, for instance, those investing in private villas.
Yeah, you see this a lot, that's right. Another popular visa is the joining family C317, also known as the dependent visa, which enables spouses and children to join somebody who has an Indonesian nationality or who holds a work visa, foreign investors visa or a permanent visa. The C317 is ideal for your spouse and kids that will move with you to Indonesia. Once kids obtain this visa, they can go to school as well in Indonesia.
Another visa, which has been announced for some time but is not listed yet on the Indonesian Embassy website, is a second home visa. This visa is also going to replace the retirement visa. So if you are 55 or older, you need to apply for a second home visa too.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. And it is said that the Indonesian second home visa is for investors, tourists and retirees, but also for digital nomads, online business owners and remote workers. However, one of the requirements is that you have at least $130,000 in your bank account. Something not everybody has.
Yeah, you might think, I'll just gather that amount of money from my family and friends, apply for the visa and then return the money straight away once the visa is granted. But it is said that the immigration office will do regular checks to see if the funds are still available on your account.
Yeah.
So while the second home visa sounds ideal, you need to be financially capable to obtain it.
Yeah, that's right. So let's apply these visa options to various scenarios, okay? Let's say you move to Indonesia as a family with kids and you plan to stay there longer than a year. Then you have the following options. The first one is if one of the parents is sponsored by an Indonesian company and receives the working visa C312, then their spouse and child can stay on the C3117 visa.
Another scenario is if you plan to work remotely from Indonesia, then the foreign investor visa C314 could be an option for you, together with your spouse and child who will enter on the family joining visa. Or you can go for the second home visa once this has been fully implemented by the Indonesian embassy, but you need to have sufficient funds in your bank account to be eligible.
Now, if you have no children and wish to work remotely from Indonesia, then the C314 and the second home visa are of course an option for you. But then again, the B211 visitor visa can still be interesting too, depending on how long you wish to live in Indonesia.
Yeah, true. So arranging a visa does involve strict planning. For instance, some visas can be arranged within weeks, but for others you need to start the process 3 or 4 months ahead. Or for your passport, sometimes it has to be valid for 6 months, while for other visas the requirement is 2.5 years. So make sure you know what the exact requirements are to getting the visa, plus how long it takes to get it.
Yeah. As for us, when moving to Indonesia, we aim to work remotely and have an income through our online business. So we will not be actually earning money with activities in Indonesia. Our son will need to go to school once there because up till now we don't consider homeschooling to be an option.
No, definitely not.
Right? So the visa that we will go for will be the investor visa C314 for both of us. And joining family will have the visa C3117. We will need to arrange it through a visa agency, of course, and they will arrange all legal matters as explained earlier in the video. But if we by that time have sufficient funds to be eligible for the second home visa, then that will be another great option, right?
Yeah, that would be very straightforward to apply, I guess.
Yeah.
So as you can tell, understanding visas in Indonesia is complicated and perhaps even boring. But we hope you made it to the very end of this video and that you gathered a lot of valuable information on which visa you might need when you plan to move to Indonesia.
Yeah, so that's it for today. Please don't forget to subscribe for more information on living abroad and moving to Indonesia. And remember, you can always like, share or comment if you enjoyed this video.
Thank you for watching. Till next time and bye-bye.
Bye.